The story begins with a young girl named Wei sitting quietly with her sketchbook, drawing a strange yet beautiful flower she found in her father's journal. Her father glances over and smiles faintly, explaining that the flower is called a corpse lily, a rare plant known for its nauseating stench that attracts flies. Curious, Wei tilts her head and innocently asks if her father has found a way to heal his face yet. Her father, a scientist deeply immersed in experimental skin grafting research, gently pats her head and promises that one day he'll be able to fix hers too. That night, in his dimly lit laboratory, he continues his secret experiment. He draws a strange liquid into a syringe and carefully injects it into a sheet of synthetic skin. Then, with shaking hands, he applies the graft to his face. At first, everything seems to work, until the tissue begins to grow wildly out of control. The skin spreads rapidly, covering his mouth and twisting over his features. Panicking, he scratches at his face, trying to tear it off, but the mutation consumes him. Hearing the commotion, little Wei rushes to his side, desperately trying to save him, but her efforts are in vain. Her father suffocates before her eyes. Years later, Wei blossoms into a beautiful young woman, though the scar on her face reminds her daily of her past. Despite the pain she carries inside, she wins a prestigious scholarship to study at a university in New Zealand, a chance to start anew. She moves in with her father's sister, Aunt Ling, who reluctantly agrees to take her in. When they meet, Ling immediately notices Wei's facial mark and offers her a special concealer to hide it. After loading Wei's suitcases into the car, they drive to Ling's modest home. Outside the house, Wei meets Cheryl, a cheerful neighbor who also works as Ling's gardener. Inside, she's introduced to Angela and her small dog Vicky. Ling praises Wei's language skills, pointing out her fluency in both Chinese and English, and tells Angela to learn from her cousin. Angela doesn't respond kindly. Her expression says it all. That night, Wei overhears Angela talking on the phone, begging her father to take her away. When Vicky barks, Angela angrily slams her door shut. The next morning, Wei lights incense at her father's small altar and prays for his guidance on her first day of university. On campus, inside the lecture hall, Professor Paul is mid-lecture, his deep voice filling the room. When class ends, he returns the graded quizzes. Wei has earned a perfect score. Impressed, Paul announces that he's looking for a new lab assistant and invites interested students to apply. Later, Wei quietly slips into the lab, flipping through her late father's journal. Suddenly, Paul walks in and gently takes the diary from her. She explains that it belonged to her father, who was also a researcher. Paul studies her for a moment and realizes she wants to continue her father's work. He nods thoughtfully and offers her the lab assistant position, promising to help her refine the skin regeneration experiment. Meanwhile, at home, Angela is hanging out with her friends Jasmine and Eve. They notice a small shrine in the corner and ask about it. Angela laughs and says it belongs to her weird cousin. Curiosity gets the better of them. The girls sneak into Wei's room. The walls are covered in photos of insects. When Eve opens a drawer, she freezes. Inside lies a set of surgical tools, some still stained with dried blood. Frightened, the girls quickly retreat. Just then, Wei returns home and greets them politely, startling everyone. They all sit down to watch a horror film, but Wei's odd behavior unsettles them. She slurps her noodles loudly, chewing the prawns with an eerie calm that makes the others exchange uneasy glances. One by one, they excuse themselves and leave. Elsewhere, Professor Paul sits in his office, reading an email from the research board. It's a warning. Without a major scientific breakthrough soon, his funding will be cut off. The following day, Wei spots Eve and her friends on campus and nervously approaches them. She invites them to a local restaurant. Eve and Jasmine are touched by her sincerity and agree to join. At the restaurant, Jasmine is the only one who tries the dish, and surprisingly enjoys it. Wei kindly offers Angela her favorite food, chicken legs, which Aunt Ling had mentioned, but Angela coldly denies liking them, clearly irritated. Wei continues to eat clumsily, her strange manner making the others uncomfortable. Eventually, Angela and Eve get up to leave, and after a brief moment of hesitation, Jasmine follows them. Once again, Wei finds herself eating alone. On her way home, she notices John sitting in his usual place. Her voice trembles as she confesses that she's always felt ugly. John shakes his head gently and tells Wei that she isn't ugly. The world is. Wei smiles faintly and promises that one day she'll find a way to make them both beautiful. John simply replies that she already is. Just then, the sound of a car horn breaks their moment. Professor Paul is parked nearby, waving at Wei and offering to give her a ride home. Inside the car, As the city lights flicker past, Paul reminds her that they must focus on completing her father's unfinished research, the experiment that could change everything. He insists they resume work the next morning. That night, Wei kneels before her father's small shrine, bowing 3 times and whispering her vow to make him proud. The next day, Wei joins Paul in the lab to continue the skin regeneration project. As they test samples, Wei admits that their formula still lacks one vital element, a bonding agent that can merge living tissue perfectly. Paul's eyes gleam with ambition. If they can find that missing key, he says, they could make scientific history. Days stretch into weeks. Progress is slow. Frustration builds. Paul's patience wears thin, and he begins to lash out at Wei more often. One afternoon, Jasmine walks into the lab, asking if Paul still needs assistance. He hands her an application form, and after filling it out, she and Wei share a quiet train ride home. During the trip, Jasmine praises Wei's determination and tells her it must be hard being in a foreign place, dealing with judgmental people. When she notices Wei hiding her scars under a scarf, Jasmine gently smiles and says, "That scarf is ugly, not you." The words melt Wei's heart. As they pass a bulletin board at the station, Wei notices a poster. The corpse flower has bloomed for the first time in 5 years. Her eyes widen. That same flower had fascinated her father long ago, and suddenly she realizes it might be the missing component for their experiment. Wei visits the botanical exhibit where the massive flower stands in full bloom. She carefully gathers a thick, gelatinous substance secreted by the petals and rushes back to the lab. When she adds the extract to their formula, the results are astonishing. The skin regenerates instantly, flawless and smooth. She's finally discovered the missing link. Excited, Wei demonstrates the new formula to Paul, applying it to her own skin as proof. Paul watches in awe. But before they can discuss further, Eve suddenly storms back in, pretending to invite Wei out for a girls' night. She shoves her roughly toward the exit. In the rush, Wei forgets her father's diary on the lab table. Once she's gone, Paul picks it up, takes photos of the pages, and emails them to a friend for translation. Meanwhile, Eve sends the picture she took to Angela, fueling Angela's jealousy and anger. Angela immediately calls her mother, insisting that something is seriously wrong with Wei. That night, Eve drives Wei to a remote, empty area on the outskirts of town. Her tone turns sharp and venomous. She accuses Wei of sleeping with professors for better grades and warns her to stay away from Paul. Then she leaves Wei stranded there. Heartbroken and humiliated, Wei breaks down crying before slowly making her way home. When she finally arrives, she's horrified. Her father's altar has been destroyed. Furious, she storms into Angela's room and confronts her. The argument quickly escalates into violence. In the chaos, Angela falls, motionless. Wei stands frozen, trembling, realizing what she's done. Panic sets in. Eventually, she drags Angela's body to the bathroom. With shaking hands, she picks up a scalpel and begins cutting away at her own scarred skin. Using the special serum she created, she attaches Angela's skin onto her own face. The pain is unbearable, but when she looks in the mirror and sees flawless skin, she smiles through tears. She's no longer herself, she's Angela. Moments later, Aunt Ling returns home unexpectedly. Wei hastily cleans the blood, hides the evidence, and greets her aunt with calm composure. Ling apologizes for being absent and informs her that she'll be leaving again for a 2-week trip. After Ling leaves, Wei studies Angela's old videos, practicing her speech and gestures until she can mimic her perfectly. The transformation is complete. At university, no one suspects a thing. For the first time, Wei is greeted with warmth instead of wary stares. Everyone believes she's Angela. Josh approaches her, smiling and kisses her, catching Wei off guard. She hesitates, but plays along. She learns that Angela was a popular athlete, but to avoid being exposed, Wei purposely injures her hand, so she can skip sports practice. Though she craves the attention and acceptance, Wei still struggles to fit into Angela's world. One afternoon, Josh takes her to a quiet hillside for a date. As they kiss under the open sky, something terrible happens. The skin graft on her face begins to peel. Josh pulls back, horrified. He stumbles away, terrified by what he's seen. In his panic, he slips and falls to his death. Wei rushes back home in a panic, desperately searching for her father's old diary. She tries calling Paul again and again, but he doesn't answer. Unbeknownst to her, Paul has already begun his own secret experiments, having discovered the extraordinary regenerative potential of the corpse flower. Meanwhile, Wei reapplies Angela's skin with her own serum, unaware that one of Paul's colleagues has just warned him that the experiment may have catastrophic side effects. When Paul finally picks up her call, Wei demands the return of her father's diary. His voice turns cold, distant. He tells her bluntly that the research no longer belongs to her father or her. It belongs to him now. The words cut deep. Consumed by rage and betrayal, Wei smashes lab equipment, shattering glass and tearing through years of work. She grabs a few essential tools and storms out into the night. Outside, Eve is waiting, probably for Paul. Seeing an opportunity, Wei asks her for a ride home. Eve hesitates, but after a moment's pause, agrees. During the drive, a chilling realization creeps in. She needs new skin, and Eve will be her next donor. Not long after, Wei invites Eve over for a sleepover. The night begins calmly. Laughter, drinks, small talk, until the clock ticks past midnight. That's when Wei strikes. Terrified, Eve flees into the darkness, diving into a nearby pond to escape. But Wei is relentless. She tracks her down and ends her life. Later, she grafts Eve's skin onto her own face, studying her speech, posture, and expressions until she becomes her mirror image. A few days later, at university, Jasmine expresses concern for Angela, saying she must be traumatized by all that's happened. Agitated and defensive, Wei snaps at her and storms off. Meanwhile, still obsessed with reclaiming her father's diary, Wei breaks into Paul's house. She searches every room but finds nothing. When Paul returns home and sees Eve waiting for him, he assumes she's come to talk. He vents about losing his job while Wei feigns sympathy, then slips away quietly. But Paul's eyes linger. Something about her feels off. Later, back in his lab, Paul continues experimenting with the corpse flower extract. When his latest test succeeds, he's ecstatic. He calls Eve, quote, bragging about his discovery and inviting her over. Wei arrives, pretending to be impressed. As Paul turns to grab a notebook, she spots the vial of the experimental serum and discreetly pockets it. Making up an excuse, she quickly leaves. Moments later, Paul realizes the vial is gone. Furious, he knows exactly who took it. The diary, however, remains hidden safely with him. Back at home, Wei's new skin begins to rot once again. She tears it off in disgust. Suddenly, Jasmine knocks at the door. When she steps inside, she finds Wei covered in blood and wearing Eve's clothes. Horrified, Jasmine demands an explanation. Wei breaks down, confessing that she just wanted to be admired, to be loved, to be seen as someone beautiful. Trying to calm her, Jasmine softly suggests they cook together, offering to bring some homemade food. But when she opens the refrigerator, she freezes. Inside are dismembered pieces of Eve's body. Jasmine gasps. But before she can scream, Wei lunges forward, wrapping a plastic sheet around her head. Jasmine struggles, clawing at the air, but her movements soon fade into stillness. Not long after, Paul tracks Wei to her home. He confronts her coldly, boasting that he managed to perfect the corpse flower formula in a single afternoon, something she spent her whole life chasing. Wei doesn't flinch. With eerie calm, she tells him the vial is in the fridge. As Paul bends down to check, she attacks. This time, the act doesn't bring guilt, it brings thrill. She injects him with the substance and watches as his flesh begins to writhe and expand uncontrollably, just like her father's horrific end. The violent commotion catches the neighbor's attention. She bursts through the door, only to witness Paul's grotesque transformation and Wei's monstrous appearance. Screaming, she runs to call the police. Realizing her time is up, Wei grabs the last vial and runs. Sirens wail in the distance. She darts through alleyways, eventually disappearing into the subway tunnels. There, she spots John sitting in his usual corner. Desperate, she begs him for help. Without hesitation, John hides her under his tattered blanket. Moments later, police officers arrive, asking if he's seen a blonde woman. John calmly points them in the opposite direction. But as Wei tries to move, the vial slips from her grasp. The liquid spills across her skin, seeping into both her and John's flesh, fusing them together in a grotesque mutation. Sometime later, Aunt Ling wanders the streets, calling out for her niece. Spotting a familiar figure ahead, she runs closer, but what turns toward her isn't human anymore. It's a horrifying amalgamation of Wei and John, their bodies twisted and merged into one. Ling's face contorts in shock and terror as she realizes what her niece has become. The final, tragic result of a desperate pursuit of beauty turned into madness. And thus ends Wei's descent, a story of obsession, betrayal, and the monstrous price of perfection. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can catch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.